A very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Lord, and in our news, a new study suggests that not enough Barbadians are changing their risky sexual behavior. The upper house of Parliament weighs in on the plastics ban. A new system coming to allow vendors to easily accept electronic payments. And in sports, Andre Russell plays a key role in the Knight Riders' IPL win over Chris Gale's Kings 11.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC News Night, starting now.
And in our top story tonight, we are hearing that changing the sexual behavior of Barbadians remains the biggest challenge for the Ministry of Health as it seeks to stem the spread of HIV and AIDS. Our Shane Jones joins us live now to give us some interesting statistics revealed just this morning. Good evening to you, Shane.
Good evening, Lisa. Well, these stats came out after the launch of an extensive survey that was conducted by the National HIV and AIDS Commission. Now, that survey had three main objectives, Lisa. Those were to determine the knowledge, attitudes, and beliefs of Barbadians between the ages of 15 and 49 towards HIV, AIDS, and STIs, to identify the sexual behaviors of people over 49 that expose them to those diseases, and to identify the risk reduction practices and the help-seeking behaviors of people between 15 and 49. Now, Senior Medical Officer Dr. Anton Best used the data to show that Barbadians still need to make some changes. While less people are being diagnosed as HIV positive in Barbados, the Ministry of Health is not relaxing its efforts.
Over the previous decade or so, the incidence rates have been declining, albeit only marginally. Best available evidence is indicating that this is due to the use of antiretroviral therapy rather than alteration of the sexual habits of people in Barbados.
Senior Medical Officer Dr. Anton Best says this, coupled with consistently high rates of gonorrhea, chlamydia, and recently syphilis, are proof that more effective behavioral change campaigns are needed. Dr. Best was a featured speaker at the launch of the report of the 2016-2017 Knowledge, Attitudes, Beliefs, and Sexual Practices Survey. Now, he says despite the less than ideal performance of the ministry's campaigns, Barbados is still well on its way to achieving the UN targets of 90-90-90 by 2020.
Based on 2016 data, we've diagnosed about 82% of all persons estimated to be living with HIV in Barbados. 57% of all of those diagnosed are on life-saving antiretroviral therapy, and 85% of those on therapy have suppressed viral loads, which has implications for rendering them incapable of transmitting HIV virus any further.
Dr. Best notes that there have been no noteworthy scientific advances in HIV treatment or prevention over the last few years. However, several methods, including the use of condoms, antiretroviral therapy, and PrEP, have proven effective in reducing the risk of and protection against HIV infection. I've got some more information for you. In case you were wondering, a total of 1,255 people participated in the study, all between the ages of 15 and 49. Now, the results were presented by Assistant Director of the HIV/AIDS Commission, Nicole Drakes. Among the key findings is that more people are having sex.
When we compare those figures with the data from the 2013-2014 survey, what we realize is that there has been an increase in the persons indicating that they have ever had sex. So in terms of vaginal sex between the two periods, there isn't much difference. The increase is marginal, only 0.4%. In the case of oral sex, there's 11.2% increase, moving from 56.2% in 2013-2014 to 67.4% in 2016-2017. And in terms of anal sex, it was a 3.9% increase.
Now, what's interesting is that the study also showed that more people are having sex while under the influence of alcohol or non-prescription drugs.
In the first instance, we found that 41.7% had sex under the influence of alcohol, and 15.3% had sex under the influence of non-prescription drugs. And then when we looked at persons who would have had sex under the influence of alcohol and non-prescription drugs, that figure was 14.4%. Now, when we compare the data for 2016, 2017 to 2013, 2014, we realize that across the board, we've actually had an increase in people that engage in this sort of risky behavior.
And another area of concern for the Commission was the number of people getting tested for HIV. So, Lisa, loads of valuable information coming out of the survey, with some of the big takeaway points being that there's been a dip in Barbadians being tested, and not all of them are addressing the results if they show they're positive. Another one is that we still need to practice condom use more often. And of course, the stigma is still very real. Back to you, Lisa.
Some very interesting statistics there, Shane. Thank you so much. Well, government is committed to ensuring that Barbadians know what is going on with the ban on petrol-based plastics. That's according to Minister of Information, Broadcasting and Public Affairs, Senator Lucille Moe. Senator Moe was leading off debate on the Control of Disposable Plastics Bill 2019, which was passed in the Upper House. She says government is planning to intensify its public relations program aimed at educating Barbadians about things like when the bans take effect and the alternatives to plastics.
Both on radio and on television, and other media, as well as on social media, so Barbadians will be fully in tune with what's going on. We also plan to have some, and I know people like to call them town hall meetings, I prefer to say citizen engagement, where we will be speaking to Barbadians in different communities so that they are then able to understand exactly what's going on. We will also walk with some of the alternative products in use so they can see what's available and fully understand. Because one thing for me to stand here and say, well, you have this item you can use instead of the straw or whatever, is another thing to actually see it.
Meantime, opposition Senator Caswell Franklin says that job losses are expected due to the plastics ban, and he wants some consideration given to compensating companies for their stock. He stressed it's just not plastics causing pollution.
I'm not saying that you will give them 100% compensation, but there should be some way to compensate these people for, because as I said, sir, they were in a legal trade. Having been in a legal business, you made it, all of a sudden you make it illegal, and made it illegal suddenly. So people are going to be telling you, I'm going to try to sell off my things cheap and fast to get my money. I want to sell it all.
Well, Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Rudolph Greenidge, says that plastics have had their impact on the Three Houses spring. He says several pieces of plastic bags have been taken from that spring, and added that the actions of some picnic goers have added to the problem.
Right now, I would actually call for a day, Saturday, a full day that we can have in Barbados the cleaning of our springs and our streams. Because if we don't, I mean, these things used to be so beautiful before. You know, I would love to see some effort. Because there were tourists that would come and stand up and marvel at how beautiful these things were, swimming and so on. But not now anymore. They want to get from there as fast as possible.
Well, a startling turn of events in the upper chamber today when the former Deputy High Commissioner to London gave the former administration a severe tongue lashing over its treatment of staff in the island's foreign missions. Independent Senator Alfia Wiggins says that she witnessed firsthand the poor working conditions and treatment meted out to staff at the High Commission in London. She says in order for Barbados to move forward, people must put their differences aside and put the country first.
They have to be examined to make sure that the staff is sharing the vision of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Barbados. Because if they're not, that is a problem. And I really have to give kudos to the current Minister of Foreign Affairs, who has come on board and raised the morale of the staff in the foreign ministries, the people that work in the missions in London, in USA, in Beijing, were decimated by the last Foreign Affairs Minister.
Well, the Darrell Jordan Secondary School is expected to reopen tomorrow after being closed today. And this follows an unfortunate incident at that school last night. Now, according to reports, a man went onto the school compound, went into the canteen, and started cooking. This resulted in damaged food stock and left the canteen inoperable. CBC News understands that that man has been arrested.
What's Trending is brought to you by Trident Insurance. We treat you like family.
And we say hello now to Lisa Boom in our social media corner to tell us what is trending. Good evening, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks. And we're starting What's Trending tonight on a positive note. We always love to see our young people doing positive things in the community. And with efforts to encourage healthy lifestyles here, it's great when the two can be combined. So earlier today, a group of 4th and 5th form nutrition students from the St. Leonard's Boys School took to the streets of the surrounding community. Their aim was to encourage people to drink more water and also share with them the benefits of infused water. Now, they stopped at the Eagle Hall Post Office, the Black Rock Police Station, and some other areas in the community. And already they are attracting attention on social media for those exploits. Good job, guys. And thanks to Mrs. Ford Allen of the school's Home Economics Department for sharing that video with us. Now, take a look at this viral video that's causing lots of debate among Catholics worldwide. Pope Francis visited the town of Loreto in Italy recently, but when people went to greet him, he repeatedly pulled his hand away when they tried to kiss his ring. Now, conservative Catholics have called the Pope's actions disturbing, as kissing the ring is a long-time tradition filled with religious significance. And as some of us tend to spend the majority of our waking hours at work, it's not uncommon to form friendships and bonds with co-workers as you go through shared experiences, right? Well, this batch of nurses in the labor and delivery unit in a hospital in Maine have taken that to a whole other level. Take a look.
9 labor and delivery nurses at the hospital are expecting babies themselves.
After each one of us started to say, you know, we're pregnant, I think it was a happier kind of announcement each time, and we're all there for each other.
8 of the nurses taking this photo, wearing their scrubs and holding cards, revealing their due dates. All of their babies coming between April and July.
I don't know, Lisa, they say something might be in the water, but I think it's a whole lot more than that. Now, after a long day at work, some of us like to curl up with a good book. Have any of you read former First Lady Michelle Obama's memoir, Becoming? Well, the book sold over 1 million copies in the U.S. in the first week after it was released late last year. Well, now that memoir is on track to be the most successful in history. It sold close to 10 million copies worldwide so far. Now, it seems like a good read judging by those numbers. And I know that Christmas is still a long time away and my birthday is gone, but I'm adding that to my wish list from early. Now, if you follow the popular U.S. TV series Empire, you may have heard about the controversial case surrounding one of the lead actors, Jussie Smollett. Well, Smollett was arrested recently on charges that he faked a racially motivated attack against him. However, in a surprise move yesterday, the charges were dropped. And Smollett has always maintained his innocence through the process, and he gave an official statement after that news was released.
I've been truthful and consistent on every single level since day one. I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I've been accused of. This has been an incredibly difficult time, honestly one of the worst of my entire life. But I'm a man of faith, and I'm a man that has knowledge of my history, and I would not bring my family, our lives, or the movement through a fire like this.
Well, that was certainly an interesting case. It could have come straight from one of the scripts for Empire. And that's all the time we have for What's Trending this evening. Of course, you can find us easily on Facebook, Instagram, and by email. Lisa, you know that the streets are always buzzing. What do you think really happened in that Jussie Smollett case?
I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm kind of glad the charges were dropped. I am a fan.
I suppose we have to wait to see when the word comes out.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Well, it seems that the days of vendors missing out on a sale because a potential client did not walk with cash could soon be over. And that's because the Ministry of Tourism is partnering with financial services company MasterCard to introduce a new way of accepting payments. It will involve the use of a handheld device to process electronic transactions. Minister of Tourism and International Transport Carrie Simmons made the announcement during a press briefing ahead of a meeting with representatives from that company.
The coconut vendor can pull out this little portable device that facilitates an electronic transaction. And he swipes or taps, you can tap it, and it registers the transaction. If you want to, you can insert the card, and that will register the transaction. So that electronic transaction has now been made. And then, by way of use of what we all walking about with, a cell phone in the vendor's pocket, and all of us have a cell phone that we're walking about with. You go on, once your phone is capable of engaging by way of Bluetooth, you are able to generate a receipt.
And Minister Simmons says that the groundbreaking exercise will essentially bring vendors into the 21st century. And since banks will now have access to records of transactions, the project will also make it easier for small and micro business people to secure a loan.
For the very first time, the bank can look at a micro business person who historically did not have time to sit down and do all of the data representation that suggests how my business perform every single week or month. And we all know that's been a challenge. But the bank can now have its own record to say, look, I have confidence in how you perform in STAR. I want to make sure that if you're coming to me and say you want a loan for another $10,000 to expand yourself, I feel comfortable in saying, on the basis of what I know exists, I could lend you that money.
Members of the Barbados Diaspora in New York are ready to do their part to assist the island, and they've started with the Child Care Board. This morning, Consul General to New York, Mackie Holder, handed over a guitar to the board, which was donated by prominent Barbadian-born New York judge, Justice Sylvia Radix. Now, Mr. Holder says that Judge Radix is among several people who committed to helping to meet the needs which the board outlined at a previous meeting. He says that the challenges of getting items through customs more easily is expected to be addressed soon, adding that some people have also offered their services to meet the psychological and social needs of children in the board's care.
We've launched what we've called a 1+1 program, which is aimed at Barbadians overseas sponsoring children of the Child Care Board. Again, the response have been overwhelming. That was also launched at the summit in January, and we immediately had about 20 people volunteering. I imagine that in a very short time, every ward of the Child Care Board, every child of the Child Care Board will have a mentor, a sponsor from the diaspora in the New York area.
Meantime, Director of the Child Care Board, Joan Crawford, says that they're thankful for any support and look forward to working with Barbadians who are overseas.
We have this saying that children are our future, but they are our present as well. And when you think of, you made the suggestion of the Child Care Board having an orchestra or something, a string instrument, that's something that will raise a lot of eyebrows, you know, and that makes me feel very, very proud. So once again, I would like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for the initiative about sponsoring children. You know, we need a connection. We always need a connection. And when we find that we have caring folk, no matter where they are, they're caring Barbadians. And I want to say thank you.
Regional news now. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chasney, in the face of criticism from some regional counterparts, has defended his recent meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. He described the March 22nd meeting as promising, and Chasney was one of 4 Caribbean leaders to meet Trump at his Florida resort.
Prime Minister Alan Chasney says the meeting was promising. He says he remains encouraged by the U.S. government's willingness to listen as Caribbean leaders articulated their country's views on current affairs.
So we had over a 3-hour meeting with Ambassador Bolton prior to the meeting with President Trump, and then we had the meeting directly with President Trump. So things like helping support and strengthen security in the region, and particularly here in St. Lucia, were discussed. Visas. So the fact that St. Lucians are having to go to Barbados to be able to get visas, in terms of looking at some of the solutions that would allow St. Lucians to apply and process their visas here in St. Lucia.
And as for Venezuela, the stance remains the same. St. Lucia supports fresh elections.